Hey, this is Genevieve Stafford Jack, and yet another day on the 30-day challenge. So I'm excited today to talk about what I've learned from Robert Kiyosaki. Now I'm talking about some of the trainings that I've been in his room with, besides just the books that we consume, as well as YouTube and different, online training. I'm talking about being face to face with the guy. So I want to tell you how I came face to face with him several different times and what I repeatedly took away from his training. And that has really just helped shape the entrepreneur that I am, as well as the property investor that I am today. So without much ado, when I was setting up the office that I've just hijacked, I decided these books, I just need to keep them one side so that I can share this with you guys. So it's not a book review, don't worry, but there's a story behind it because I learned that we need to give credit where credit's due. So in April 2018, I decided I needed to get my sales skills in order. And so what do? I went and I online on social media, I looked for who is doing a sales course because I didn't like some of the methods and other models of selling. I needed to get into comfortable in my own skin. And so I did. I found somebody called Barry Mitchell. Okay. And Barry Mitchell is this guy at the back of the book. Okay. Barry Mitchell. And he wrote, Sales is a life skill. And I was like, sales is a life skill? Oh, I need to get to knowing this guy. And so I went through his sales and leadership course. What I found out later on in this course, like at the tail end of this course, is that none other than who we call our granddad, is mentoring Barry. Like, what? Like, can you believe that? I was like, oh, okay, cool. So my husband and I dragged him through to the sales and leadership course. And at the end of that course, we signed up with Barry for a different course. And the textbook for that particular course, zang, zang, is Why the Rich Are Getting Richer by Robert Kiyosaki. This was the textbook. I was like, okay. So for 10 weeks, we drove through to Bedford View. In the evening, from 6 to 9 or till 9:10, we literally played the cash flow game. And I also got that one here, the cash flow game. So we played the cash flow game and we decided, okay, this is life. We need to, like, whatever we're doing here is life. But amidst all of this, right, Robert Kiyosaki comes to South Africa and he has this big convention center seminar with lots of other different speakers. And because we are students of Barry, we got VIP treatment. And also, later on in that week, instead of being in a crowd of 5,000 people, which was awesome, the energy is awesome, but when we get into an intimate space, Robert Kiyosaki becomes even more real. So we got into a space. It was afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon in Rosebank, and there was maybe no more than 50 of us in the room. And life becomes like so real, so surreal when you see your teacher that you have looked up to for the longest time. Because just to rewind just a tad bit, this book I read forever ago. And when I was dragged through to the property investing seminar by my husband, it was because I recognized the rich dad emblem and things that were going around there to be Robert Kiyosaki. I stayed and I decided to give this thing a try. Okay. That's how I felt at that time. I learned most of my accounting from here. And then I learned to be an entrepreneur and then lastly, a property investor from this particular book. Yeah. So nonetheless, being in the space with Robert, he would share pertinent stuff, right? And I remember with the one training that we were going through, this was the book that we decided after that training that we are buying, which is the cash flow quadrant, really just wanting to understand where we were and how we were evolving as people at that time, running a business, being an entrepreneur, as well as my husband still being in the workplace, being an entrepreneur, and just all of those mixed emotions and feelings that we go through. Every time we trained with him, he spoke about the entrepreneurial mindset, the skill set, and then the rules that go with being an entrepreneur. He said, it's okay not to have money, but it's not okay to stay there. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you will be creative on how to make money. So he talks about being broke for many, many years, but eventually his comeback is second to none. And I learned from him that I don't have to work for money. And that's when I started realizing that everything that I do in the different legs of my businesses is that I work with the passion behind it. I work for the excitement of teaching people. I work for the excitement on literally being of service to people. And when my mind is not focused on making money, invariably, I make money. He says, create business. And when you create business, the money that you make from business, acquire real estate, because obviously being a real estate investor himself, he really focuses and drums home on get real estate. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. And all of those lessons just keep coming to the surface. I want to make 2 more points. The 2 more points I really want to zoom in on is, if you haven't already, click like on this video. No, I'm just kidding. But you can click like on this video, right? The 2 points is that the world is changing and we need to adapt and change with it. There are teenagers making millions. You go online, you hear people are making millions. Millennials, when you look at millennials, they just don't even subscribe to what the previous generations have done. So my question to you is, how are you staying relevant in the space that we're in? And if you really enjoy this video, I want you to click on the subscribe button, click on the notification bell so that you can get more videos of this nature. But last but certainly not least, this book was the time that he had the biggest impact on me. You see, this was last year in May. He had a 6-day training. To get into that training, you needed a balance sheet. He said, I don't care what your balance sheet looks like, just that you have a balance sheet. And the lesson behind that is that it's easy to say I'm an entrepreneur, but if you're not managing your funds and putting your things in order to actually grow your business, are you really an entrepreneur? That's my question, because that's the sobering thing, is that at least I was able to call up my bookkeeper and ask for the necessaries, because those are the different things that we had in place. And he taught so much from this book. But more importantly, he spoke about spirit. Do you have spirit? Do you have vision? And he spoke about mission. So when I think about him, I no longer just see him as our real estate godfather, granddad, but I see him as somebody to aspire towards the characteristics that he exemplifies. So I trust that what I've learned from Robert Kiyosaki has had an impact on you. And that you sit down and you start asking yourself, in the journey that you are in, what am I learning from people around me? Am I just buying books to accumulate it? Or am I actually learning the lessons? Because I tell you, this book here, this was our textbook, like I shared. And some of these chapters in this 8-week training, 10-week training, we even went through some of these chapters twice. That's how important they were. It was not done in sequential order. Sometimes you will say, go and find lessons. You see, like here, it's all highlighted. If I have to actually just do that through the book, you'll start seeing highlights all over the show. They'll say, go and read chapter 1 and chapter 7 and look in your own life and start applying the things that you're learning in there. And that for me is why I say I've learned much from his books. I've learned much from his YouTube channel, but I've learned much in a space of 1 year where I got to be under his teaching in a classroom of less than 100 people several times. And boy, oh boy, if you were caught off guard, daydreaming or falling off to sleep or anything like that, he would actually just tell you to get up and go out of the room because you're wasting his time. So for me, I just find that learning from figures such as, I'm not saying I want to be the next Robert or Kim Kiyosaki, but what I'm wanting to know is that my mission, as long as I'm on my mission that I was born for, I never have to work for money in my life ever again. All I need to do is be on mission. Everything else that comes with being on mission will come. So be good, be safe, be especially safe through this time.